All right, today we're getting out of the city center a bit and seeing a different side of Turin. We're heading down to the river, checking out a part we kept hearing about, and apparently there's a medieval village in the middle of it, so we'll see if that's actually worth it. And then we're going to hike up to a viewpoint that's supposed to have one of the best views of the city.
Welcome to Retire to Rome. I'm LJ.
I'm Russell. We're retired, traveling full time.
On a budget and loving every minute of it. This is Parco del Valentino, and right away it's a nice break from all the buildings. A lot more space, way quieter, and you've got the river running right along here. Honestly, if you're in Turin for more than a day or two, this is a good place to come just to slow things down a bit and maybe even bring a sandwich along with you. You'll definitely see locals out walking, biking, and just hanging out. Not really a tourist-heavy spot, which we always like, and it's a flat, easy walking area, nothing complicated. So this is Borgo Medieval. We were hoping to maybe check out the castle area, but it's actually closed right now. It looks like they've got it shut down, maybe for restoration. We weren't entirely sure. So we couldn't go inside, but you can still walk around the outside and get a pretty good feel for it. And even from out here, it's still worth a stop. I don't know if this area is something that would interest you or not if you're visiting the city. It's not an original medieval site. It was actually built in the 1800s, but they did a really solid job with the design. It still makes for a cool, quick stop while you're walking around through the park. Again, I'm not really sure. Apparently it was set up for some type of event that was going on, but you can definitely tell there was a lot of work put into it. And to say it's not that old, when in actuality it's over 200 years old. One thing we noticed in the park is there's a lot more going on here than just walking paths. You've got big shaded trees, seasonal flower beds, and plenty of wildlife like birds and squirrels. The park actually dates back to the 1600s, so it's been part of the city for a long time. If you decide to spend the day there and you forgot to bring a picnic, don't worry. There's lots of places to grab a coffee and a croissant or even a meal. Many places along the riverfront with fantastic seating.
Right here in front of us is the Po River, the longest river in Italy, running over 400 miles across the north of the country. In Turin, it cuts right through the city and connects a lot of the main walking areas, including the park we've been exploring.
You'll find paths like this all along the river, and they're completely free to use, which makes it an easy way to see more of the city without spending anything. It's also a simple route if you're heading toward the bridge and up to one of the best viewpoints in Turin. Before leaving, we wanted to point out that the park runs just alongside the University of Turin. You'll actually see university buildings, student areas, and rowing clubs all in the same stretch. So it's kind of like it blends together park, school, and river life all in one area. That's part of why you see so many young people hanging out, studying, or rowing along the Po River.
This is the Arco Monumentale all'Arma di Artiglieria, is the last thing we saw as we were leaving Parco del Valentino. Say that fast 5 times. It was built in the early 1900s to honor Italy's artillery forces. From here, we headed across the bridge and started making our way toward the hill for that viewpoint.
I'm probably going to mess this name up as well. This is the Ponte Umberto I, one of the main bridges over the river here in the city. It was built in the early 1900s and is made of stone with classic arches that give it a really solid, timeless look. Back when it opened, it was a big deal because it connected the city and the park to the hills on the other side, basically linking the everyday life of the riverfront with the more scenic parts of the city. As Russell said, we're heading up this hill. At least that's what they call it. Not gonna lie, you're gonna feel this one. It's not super long, but it is uphill the whole way. We're gonna spare you all the heavy breathing and just show you some of the great views we saw when we got there.
Wow, looking out over Turin, the river and the Alps in the distance, great panoramic views you don't get down in the city center. Right behind us is the church you can see on the hilltop, the Church of Santa Maria al Monte dei Cappuccini. It was built in the late 1500s for the Capuchin friars, a Roman Catholic order, and finished in the mid 1600s. It's not a monastery you can tour like a big tourist site, but it still stands as a place of worship and a landmark overlooking the city.
As you step inside, you'll notice it's pretty different from what you see on the outside. This church was designed with a Greek cross layout. Up near the front, you'll see the high altar, and there are frescoes and paintings on the walls that go back centuries. The ceiling is pretty magnificent. There's also a side chapel with the remains of Saint Ignazio da Cynthia, a Capuchin friar who lived here in the 1700s and was later canonized. It's a quiet space, but the details tell a long story about the place and the people who worship here over the years. In addition to the church, you'll also find the National Mountain Museum of Turin. It started back in the 1870s with its members of the club Alpino Italiano, and today it's a cultural center all about mountains, from their history and photography to alpine culture and exploration. Inside, you'll find permanent and temporary exhibits, archives, and even a documentation center with one of Italy's largest mountain libraries. And right at the top is a terrace and lookout where you can see over 400 kilometers of the Alps and the whole city, which is exactly why the museum sits up here. It actually is €10 per person. We chose not to go in, we were here for the views, but just know that that is an option if you're interested. Now, let me be frank with you and tell you what we did wrong. Well, not really wrong, but we probably should have planned better. We picked a perfect day. The weather was super clear, it was great, and we got there about 3:30 in the afternoon, which was way too early if we were wanting to stay for sunset, which was what our original plan was. By about 4:30, we looked at each other and said, "Are we going to sit here another 2 hours and wait for a sunset?" And the answer was no, so we left. So there is no this dramatic sunset view from the top of this hill. And really, the mountains were beginning to get kind of hazy, so we wouldn't have seen them anyways, I don't think. On our way down, we also crossed this bridge that was also built in the 1800s, and it was about a 3-mile hike from the top of the hill back to our apartment. So we had quite a long day. We were both exhausted. We really appreciate you all joining us for this little adventure today. We're pleased to say that we didn't spend any money for any activities today, so that's always a good day. We hope that you all enjoyed the video and liked it. Be sure and hit that like and subscribe button if you would. We would really, really appreciate it. We want to wish you a blessed day, and as always, safe travels.